Okay, looks like we are live on YouTube and a Facebook. Let's see if we can get our live stream to happen on Instagram now. Oh, there we go. I can click it. All right, I clicked it. Yay, Gen Xers doing technology.
Gen Xers doing technology. My hair, I'd like to apologize to everybody, but my hair. I don't know. I'm growing it out, I guess.
Well, you're doing like hair puberty.
That's the worst thing you could say. Yeah. I want like Viking hair.
I think that'd be so cool. Get you some really cool braids and stuff. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm going to start coloring it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you should totally become a shield maiden. I like it. Yeah.
I miss the days when people would like shout across the street, "I love your hair." That was back when I had crazy hair, but it's hard to keep my lifestyle up.
I know. I had like multiple colors at one point, and it was like almost $300 a month to maintain. And then after like 6 months, I was like, what? What did I get
afford this? I can't afford my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I can't afford to be queer anymore. I can't afford the shoes, the hair, the accessories, the blazers.
Right. Then you got the social life too. I mean, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to throw together.
Yeah. Hello. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
I'm excited about today's topic.
Yeah, right. We're talking about hauntings and possessions, separating out the fact from the folklore. Yeah. So I think if you don't mind, where I'd like to start first is talking about hauntings and possessions and maybe coming up with a baseline definition, because I think that with Hollywood and religion and neo-spirituality, we might be talking about different things. So it might be great to start with a baseline. And so, yeah, cool. So if you will, a haunting, that is where an entity is either attached to a person or a home. And usually it is a human entity. And what I mean by that is that it's not an animal entity like Fletcher back there who just walked by, or an alien entity. They are spirits without bodies that have had incarnations in the human form. And usually when it's a haunting, because that entity, that human entity, has been attached to either a person or to a physical location, it's because that entity did not complete whatever they wanted to complete in their previous lifetime. Maybe they have excess karma. Maybe they have a lot of regrets. Maybe they have a lot of unfinished business or people that they're worried about. Or maybe they just died in a lot of trauma. Maybe they passed through a lot of trauma. A lot of the social media sites won't let you say the D word anymore.
D word?
D-E-A-T-H. Yeah, you have to say unalive now. So this whole thing might be canceled now. We're done.
Let's just say everything.
What? Let's just say everything.
Fuck, dick, pussy.
That was everything in 3 strokes.
And I'm like, what are the other ones? I don't know.
I keep using the D word whenever I'm doing my social media.
That's absurd.
Right? Like, how am I supposed to talk about when somebody unalives?
Croaks? Kick the bucket.
I don't want to say they unalive themselves because
crossed over.
But crossing over is kind of different, because when you actually cross over, that's exactly what I was getting to, is when you have a human entity who has a lot of unfinished business after their physical body is no longer.
Yeah. Right.
then they end up stuck here in the physical realm. And when they actually do cross over fully over to the other side so that they can create their next step, usually for most souls, that's another lifetime. But if you will, those are the beings that are the entities that are here that usually create those hauntings and those possessions even. Yes. Now, again, a haunting is when a being is attached to a physical location or even kind of partially to a person. They can haunt you, they can haunt your dreams, they can haunt your mind or your thoughts or your emotional levels. But then, if you will, a possession is very different. And the way I define possession is when the owner of the physical body, let's say I completely leave my gourd, I leave my meat suit, right? Completely, 100% gone.
Yeah.
And another entity comes into my body. Usually it is an entity that is a human one, but I have, in some rare cases, seen it as some alien type entities that are non human entities that will come in and completely possess that body to where the person maybe doesn't remember what they're doing or saying, and they might speak in tongue. They might, what was that movie from the 80s or 90s where they levitate off the bed, your head spins? There's that degree. What?
Was it Poltergeist? Is that the one you're thinking of?
No, it was, oh man, the Poltergeist. That was a good one too.
We should watch that.
Doing 80s movies night. But that's the extreme degree of when somebody gets possessed to the point where they're completely unconscious of what their body is doing and weird things are happening. In the religious spiritual context, that person might speak in tongue, or they might, all of a sudden speak a whole nother language. When somebody's what I call drunk possessed or drunk channeling, that's because they drink so much alcohol or they did so many drugs that spiritually they completely left and another entity came in to take over the party. And then there are kind of like minor levels of possession, but I don't call that possession. I call that more unconscious channeling, where an entity might come in and just speak through a person's body for a while. I channel entities consciously. I'm actually going to be channeling Maitreya here in December, so stay tuned. Make sure you join our newsletter so you can get the information on that. And so that's kind of more channeling, where you're kind of half conscious, you half remember, or you mostly remember what you're doing. You're not full blown, completely gone, and somebody else is taking over the driver's seat, if you will. So
I think it happens to some degree to all of us all the time.
Yes.
Where you kind of like, well, I'm interrupting. If you want to keep going.
No, I think I defined possession. Possession is really the nth degree. Like, whoa, that person is gone.
Right.
Then there are milder levels like the channeling, and usually people are unconscious, and people do it all the time. Like, oh, wow, I just sounded like my mother. Or if you've ever had a child come home from school one day and all of a sudden they're not acting like themselves, but they're taking on the mannerisms of another child at school, that would be kind of a minor, very, very minor form of possession, which I like to tone it down from the dramatic levels and just call that channeling. And usually it's pretty unconscious.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because here's where I go. Like when I hear you say all that, I've studied at the BPI for years. I've always struggled with the words because I don't, early in my study, I realized, well, I'm hung up on the word being. I'm hung up on the word alien, the word ghost.
Yeah.
And I decided a long time ago, it doesn't matter. But what you can call it an alien, a ghost, a diva, deva, a haunting. We all agree. When people, a lot of the world would hear you and just kind of write you off immediately and go, oh, she's cray.
Yeah.
But those same people have no problem saying, like, I don't know what got into me. I wasn't myself. Or they'll talk about someone else. Oh, he's a goner. He's half there. He's not there. And
Nice.
like,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
You meet those people that, when you know someone who has a lot of different partners and they become the partner they're with, and you're like, oh, now you're Melissa. Okay.
Yeah.
We all accept that. No problem. I was thinking about what entities people are kind of cool with and what becomes crazy. And people are really cool with the devil. Like, people are like, oh, the devil, evil. People talk about evil all the time. It was evil. Evil did this. Evil did that. Evil did this. Like, did it? What is evil again? But like, as soon as you say a ghost or an alien, then you're just like dismissed. And like, where I'm at that, like, what if I was standing in a court of law? Do I believe in aliens? I don't know. Probably. I mean, that makes sense. But have I ever like seen one in front of me in the physical? I've definitely had some like trance meditation states and healings with other people through the BPI that I've been like, that seemed so alien or ghostly. And where I go with it is like, don't get hung up on the word.
Yeah.
Outside, it's energy that's outside of you that isn't in affinity with your truth, your soul, that gets in somehow. And it can be good. You can you can be funnier. You can be stupid. You can be unconscious. It's not always just like, and then I killed him, like, wait a second. But
right.
That's just how, like, I can't hold on to like an entity possessed me, but I can hold on to like, there was a part of me or someone that was unhealed and unconscious, and it created a portal for something else to kind of take over you, whether that's fear, anxiety, self-doubt, bravado. And people, they're not that's when you're not yourself. And so, because there are people like, when is it like a physical thing? Like, oh, your brain just isn't firing enough chemicals or blah, blah, blah. You have a mental disorder. And when is it like, no, a strange belief system got into you, because we accept both of those things, but which is which? Do you know what I'm saying here? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Like, why are people so cool with like evil or the devil? And even when you talk about, oh, what about angels? Then it's like, oh, you're kind of corny. You're talking, you're a little old lady.
But it's still very accepted, angels, and people love angels. Mm-hmm.
I saw the new Keanu Reeves movie where he's an angel that gets fired. It's so funny because he's fucking everything up.
Oh, I need to see that. You'll have to text me. Yeah.
So like, when I let go of those words, I found it like I could make progress in identifying something that was impacting me or someone else. And then I started noticing something interesting. When people are true believers of entities, of aliens, of ghosts, they start to they can go down this path of losing their autonomy, of like, I'm under psychic attack. He's controlling me. I curse this or that. So it's kind of this interesting, like, easy does it with the belief of whatever this is, or like if musicians or artists talk about, they will freely say like, that wasn't me. It came in from God, or I channeled it. And then I wrote this amazing piece of music, or my favorite, this babe, Hilma off Clint, she channeled all these from his entities, and people are like, yep, that's so cool. But as soon as you say the words a different way, they're like, no, you're crazy. That's just crazy talk. And then, but then here's another thing. When people do encounter a situation that spooks them, the fear is like out of this world. Like, when people have an alien experience, the terror they talk about is very real. And they're like, I've never been so terrified in my life. And like, the time, I can't remember I was trying to think today, when was the last time I got spooked? I got spooked a couple of times at the BPA. And but my college roommates and I, we lived in this house, and they all agree with it was haunted. And I would be so scared to come out of the shower at night if they were gone, and I would close my eyes and walk to my room because I believed that my room wasn't haunted. I'm on a major tangent, but like
my third eye.
Yeah, but I find it like interesting, the balance of nobody believes you and thinks you're talking crazy, but when people do have like ghost or alien encounters, they're scared out of their mind. And like, where does that fear come from? What is that about? Anyways, I just like went on a huge.
Well, I mean, these are great points, and there's a whole lot to unravel there. And I think where I want to start first is that 99% of society, or the human race, is very much conditioned that this lifetime is kind of really all about the body, and that it's all about the mind and the brain. And which is great, I mean, I think that having some letters after your name is a great status symbol, proving that you intellectually know a lot. And at the same time, we've been granted as human beings with both our intellect and our intuition.
I like this.
But our intuition from a very early age gets invalidated. Oh, that's just your imaginary friend. Oh, I'm not angry. Can't you tell I'm smiling? I'm fine, right? And so soon kids stop using their intuition because it's very much not validated. It's called fantasy, or not real, or just your imagination. And so most humans are going through life with one hand tied behind their back, and they're trying to do life with one hand, and they think they're pretty good at it, right? And what we're up to here at the Boulder Psychic Institute isn't about eliminating the intellect. It's about enhancing the human experience by saying, hey, take that hand out from behind your back and try using both, right? You have to be able to use both in a very grounded, capable way. And any tool in life, any tool, your intellect, your intuition, a hammer, a nail, your car, your computer, you use that appropriately, or it's not going to turn out well.
Right.
And so we do have a lot of people who are not even using this tool at all. Right. And so they're at a deficit, especially when they do get spooked. They don't understand the unknown. And most people, fear really comes from the fear of unknown. I'm afraid of the future. I'm afraid of what might happen. I'm afraid of, I don't know what the heck this is, so I don't like it. Right. And the reason why that's so difficult for those with their intuition tied behind their back is because the brain can only get you so far. The brain is, binary. It's, yes, no, this happened, so that might happen again. It's not very good at creating or innovating. It's more, putting together patterns.
Here's just looking for patterns, and creating a story to match the pattern, and it just creates willy-nilly stories. Oh, she's bad. She's trying to get you. It's safe. You're in danger if you go near her. Like, wait a second, brain. I don't think so. Like, your brain tricks you.
Yeah, your brain will trick you because it's very much like a computer, where it's just taking patterns and applying those patterns into what they think the future will be. Yeah. And this is why so often when somebody's afraid of confronting conversation that they're going to have with somebody, I always tell them, well, it's never as bad as your brain makes it out to be. It never turns out that bad. The future never turns out that bad as where your brain can take it, right? And unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are very heavy on the intellect. Most of the world, most humans are here operating just off of the intellect. And so evil is a real thing that they can conceptualize intellectually because they saw it on a movie, or they saw Voldemort
do terrible things, and you have to make sense of it.
Yes. And then people do. Yeah. They do terrible things. And so, that's how the brain kind of sorts all of that out. Right. But the brain does not innovate, does not create, if you will, especially if you speak with some of the greats like Einstein or, incredible inventors, they don't talk about it in terms of like, I thought this into reality. Most of them, it's like, oh, I had this download, or all
Mhm.
this inspiration, or
We'll say that wasn't me. I'm not that smart. It just came in.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, I used to date a genius guy who invented things for NASA.
And
And
he's watching this thinks. Yeah.
my husband never watches these. He doesn't.
Right.
Every now and then he's like, a friend saw your TikTok page. And he's like, and so I checked it out for a second. But that's his.
Yeah, Andrew doesn't really know what I do all day, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
That's how I want it. Like,
autonomy. I like it.
yeah.
But anyway, he would talk about how he would invent things. Like NASA would say, we have this problem and we would like this sort of a solution. And he would just, he would go to bed. And then he said that like until he would come up with an inspiration or an idea, he would just, it was like his morning time where he would just not set an alarm for as long as he needed, if it was a week or 2 weeks, where he would just kind of be in and out of this dreamlike state. And at some point, boom, the answer would come to him.
Mm.
And I love that. I was like, yes, that's exactly how we innovate and how we create new things. And right, this is where, what was it, Edison and somebody else across the world in Germany, they both discovered electricity at the same exact time,
Mhm.
in the same exact time frame. And this was before you could
Train.
hear it. I mean, you have to wonder where did that inspiration come from? Well, there's some bigger source that's coming from that. And so that's why here at Boulder Psychic Institute, it's not about although I can't keep up intellectually with people as well as I used to, especially in like engineering and math and science, because I'm just not practicing those aspects of myself as man, that train just
It's over. It's gone now. I know.
we hear you, train. Hi.
I know. Like, if you get hit by that train at this point, you deserve it. Like, that was rude. Sorry.
But anyway, yeah. So at Boulder Psychic Institute, we're all about, well, take this hand out from behind your back and exercise it, practice building that muscle, use it so that you can use these tools. Because I always say, it's not your weaknesses that are it's not your weaknesses that are going to kill you, because they're weak, right? Weaknesses are weak, right? But it's your unknown strengths. And everybody has these as strengths, your intellect and your intuition. These are strengths. And if you don't own both of them, then they will kill you. They will make life very difficult for you. And so that's where then, if we have somebody who develops their intuition, and maybe they're not doing it in a ground, methodical, safe way, which I have a bias that I feel like I have created a very safe, methodical way to train psychics and healers. As long as you continue, every now and then I have a student where I'm like, you learn just enough to have that become a problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you start talking to someone where you're like, pull it together, like you're way out into Sparkletown of the spirituality world, and you're losing your sense of autonomy of like, hello, you have a body, come back to it.
Yeah. Well, and those are the people who they learn just enough about spiritual energy, and maybe they don't continue far enough, or there's some energy that gets in their space that stops them from continuing to really owning this as a tool. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like they bring the tool out, but they haven't totally owned it yet, right? And that means it's still susceptible for other energies or other influences to come in and take over. And that's where you get those people. And we've had a handful of students over the past 20 some odd years who, where I've looked at them and said, they come back after a little bit of training, and I say, oh yeah, you learn just enough to have it become a problem. Come back and take some classes, and some do, some don't. But they do kind of go off the deep end, because this tool over here, their intuition, gets taken over, and overrun, just like your intellect can take over and make you go kind of crazy with your thoughts, or out of control thoughts, or negative thoughts, or self
Hyper analyzing everything all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Either one, the goal is ownership. The goal, I believe, is ownership. Can you own all of your gifts, your intellect, your emotions, your intuition, your communication? Can you, your sexuality, right? Can you own all of it? And the more that you can own it, then you can wield it as a tool for success. Right. But I do see those people where they develop it just enough, and then, they're kind of like, oh, there's a being there. Oh, or my 10,000 spirit guides say do this, or, source says I need to go walk in front of that train, and, and where either one can become, be used inappropriately. Right. Yeah. Keep going.
Do you think there's places that are more or less prone to what people would call paranormal activity? Like, why do ghosts only like old houses? Or like, I don't buy into this is one giant earth and we all live here. I don't really buy into places being more or less sacred or more or less evil, or like, I kind of think you can make a place have a cool energy.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people, like, there are places. I remember once as a kid going to this city in Idaho, little tiny town, Soda Springs, and getting the willies, like, so clear. I was just like, it is weird here. And I was in this park, and I was just, I still remember how I felt, like, this place is weird. I don't like it here. There's like weird energy here. And I think that happens, but it was just a random little small town, a random little park. But I was totally spooked. And I don't know, like, what's the deal with certain locations being more or less paranormal, like the Bermuda Triangle, or, what are your thoughts on that? Or is that real, not real, sort of real? And I mean, everyone has a story of going to somewhere where you're like, ooh, vibe, or vice versa. I love it here. And did we create that? Did humans create that vibe, or was that the
chicken or the egg? Yeah. Well, and this is where I kind of want to come back to even, various psychoses or mental illnesses, because I think you mentioned that previously too, which, not everybody subscribes to this, but the more and more I have been doing energy work and teaching here at the Boulder Psychic Institute, I'm just starting to boldly say the secret to life, the secret to everything on earth here was summed up with a very simple phrase: as above, so below. As above, so below. If you change your spiritual energy, then your physical reality, the boat below space, will follow. And the same thing goes with illnesses or psychoses. You were talking about when people kind of lose it, right? Where is that happening? Where is that coming from? And it really is because something changed in that spiritual realm that then created a physical effect, right? But then, right, because we're humans, we can also, we have energy within us and all around us. So we can also kind of manipulate the physical, which also then can change the above space. Not as easily as above, so below is more like flowing downstream, but it does happen where there's a feedback system, right? Simplest example, a soul has to manifest that body to conceive, right? Then, that soul puts all of its energy into that body. So does mom to grow that baby, right? And then that baby grows up, has a lifetime, has physical experiences, which then it can take with them after the body's gone, after that lifetime. And then there's that feedback system in that direction. It's like, oh, I learned this, I learned that. And they get to take that with them when they go. Right. And so back to your question about locations, usually older locations are more prone to entities because it's very likely that somebody passed in that location, and it's more likely that then they're going to be stuck to that location or stuck to the people there, versus like a new building or a new construction, if you will, right? Until like a generation or two has lived there and maybe a passing has occurred. I almost said the D word. I guess we already said all the bad words.
Oh yeah.
But a passing occurred, right? Then it's then the likelihood of an entity being attached to that location, it has a higher possibility. So, for example, going to Egypt, pretty much everywhere I went, it was like there were entities everywhere. It was like, wow, this is just amazing. For me, it was a psychic. It was like me being in a candy store or something, right? It's like, oh, I can talk to you. I can talk to you. They're just entities everywhere. And then, so the chicken or the egg thing, right? There are some spots on the planet where they are just prone to higher levels of energy, where more energy collects. I tend to see that around volcanoes. There's certain way lines, which are kind of like the energetic, magnetic, for ease of definition, just flows of energy that automatically are part of just planet Earth. And when a bunch of them connect together in like a node, then there's like a power spot. Boulder said, it is a power spot. Sedona is a power spot. And then oftentimes where I see those volcanoes, those tend to be other power spots, right? And that is really just the way that the Earth is set up and aligned. And then, it's really up to the humans. How much energy do we put into those power spots or into any spot and feed it and make that energy bigger, whether it's big in a good way or bigger in a scary, haunting kind of a way, right? So older houses, because most people have seen all those scary movies, when they go into the older house and the floorboard creaks or, they hear like sounds, immediately they want to assign an entity to it or a ghost because of the brain and what they've seen previously and how brains will trick you into things. And then there may not even be a ghost there, but by the humans projecting that fear, then all of a sudden the ghosts are like, oh, we hear a fear siren. Let's all come down and descend on this house. And now it truly is haunted.
Well, I like that. This is old news, but like whenever I try to be super spiritual, nothing happens. Like I right before I wrote that piece on ghosts and graveyards, I was in my hometown and we are near a graveyard, a cemetery, and it was very beautiful, big trees. And I was walking through it every day and trying to like tune in and try, and, what do you have to say to me? And and like it always works with me whenever I'm trying that hard, nothing. I intuited like, this is interesting. The living come here and it's almost like they're trying to pull the spirit back and visit that person. And it's a little bit like, should you be doing that? Like, I don't like the idea of visiting someone's grave. It spooks me. And I also feel like then you're kind of like pulling them. Like they might be out there doing cool work. And then you're like pulling on them. Yeah. Come talk to me. I'm sad. I miss you. I miss your physical body. Come to the graveyard. And like, if I'm a spirit, like I'm not going to be hanging around my grave. Weird,
Others do.
Yeah, it's for the living. But and I kind of came away with like, but then when I travel in a place with a really old road, I'm so tuned into the road. I'm taking pictures of it. Then I have all these pictures of just cobblestones, and because I can like, oh, that's so wild. Just humans have been walking over this spot for so long. And shout out to the first craftsman and art that built this road. Like, dang, this was built to last, man. Good job. And like just the cycles of humanity that this road has seen. And we'll be walking around. I'm just like so focused on the road and all the in my mind, seeing all this energy and human experiences. But then I go to write about it. I'm like, how do you write about a road? But
and coming back to way lines, sometimes way lines are created by people taking the same path and the humans putting their energy into that path over and over and over. There's a bunch of way lines that lead to Rome, to the Vatican. As people would have their pilgrimages, and they would kind of come in droves on the same roads, and those actually created energetic way lines too. So I mean, it is a chicken or the egg. It is kind of both.
Yeah.
But if you do subscribe to as above, so below, I mean, everything starts from energy. I mean, I always say every illness, if I wanted to use more of a muggle term, is psychosomatic. Every illness, except for seizures, is psychosomatic. It all starts from energy, or if you want to talk about it more in your mind, it's because there's some energy or mental pattern that gets in there that creates whatever the ailment is, right? Whether it's psychosis or cancer, right? It's all psychosomatic. It all starts from an energy. Mm-hmm. And so
that's why it's important to get those bad vibes out of your body.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then see, right, you were saying like for you, that one location was really spooky, right? Or you were traveling recently and you went somewhere and you like had all these flashbacks of past lives and everybody else is walking around kind of normal and you're like, whoa, right? And that was a moment you weren't trying to be super psychic, but it kind of hit you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And for some people, some locations will feel better than others, because I've had different lifetimes than you have. And so I have different experiences, bias, judgments, positive and negative, about certain energies that you might have opposite judgments or ideas about. Right. So one location might feel really good to me and it might feel really good or bad to you. And that, again, there's so many variations to all of this that I come back to you talking about being seen as crazy. And it can feel.
It's hard to talk about this stuff because you want to talk about your spiritual experiences, your experiences with energy and life beyond our five senses. And then it's like, I'm going to just sound like a whack job.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the biggest way that one ends up sounding like a whack job is the degree to which they're trying to prove it to everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
Right? People who end up in the white coats and institutionalized in a room, it's because they're trying to prove it to everyone else around them. No, these beings are talking to me, or no, I'm an orange, or, whatever.
Yeah.
They're hallucinating. But for me as a psychic, I would say whatever their spiritual experience is, those people have not been educated on how to manage that energy, and they're just shouting to the rooftops, somebody help me, but nobody's listening. And so they're trying to prove it, and the more that you're trying to prove it, the more you do sound crazy. I mean, I don't care if you're talking about an entity or Satan coming in talking to you, or Jesus talking to you, right? The born again kind of vibe, that can be seen as a little bit crazy, right? I'm going to knock on your door and you got to, take Jesus as your savior, right? I mean,
that's a being that it's okay to believe in that being. Apparently there was beings that were 2,000 years ago, and then we stopped having beings on Earth. What happened to why did they leave? I don't know. Well, in sessions and when I was a student in practica, it's remarkable what shifts with someone when you just are neutral to them and you don't say, no, that's not happening. When you just observe, and then their whole, I remember this one practica with an older woman who was real funny on the phone, and she had a ghost, but it didn't take long for me to realize, she doesn't want the ghost to leave. Right. It's her friend. They were actually having an argument. They were having a thing. And so like I just like listened to her, and then, you know, and and as it unraveled, she was afraid that he would leave. She was lonely. And then in the session, I could see, because I just, at this point, I was like, I'm just going to believe. I'm just going to go with this and stop assuming that I'm crazy, you're crazy, everyone's crazy. And this, saw her place. I saw him, this young guy, and he saw me, and he dropped his baseball bat and took off. And then I felt bad because I was like, I'm not telling you should leave.
Yeah.
You know, and then by the end of it, it was like, it just kind of came out that they were having like a spat. But I didn't tell her she was right or wrong. I just was like, this is your experience, and I'm here to just hold space for it and give you my insight on what I see.
Yeah.
And by the end of the call, she's talking more clearly. She's sounding more grounded. She is more grounded, you know, and then it's just like, and then she, you know, she said his name, and it got kind of sweet. And it was like, yeah, you don't have to get rid of him. He can be your roommate.
Day 3. Way to take the practice and really apply it. Because here at Boulder Psychic Institute, we don't do spiritual work so that we can be above others or say things like, oh, I can't hang out with you because you have a negative vibe or you're a lower vibration than me.
Yeah.
Right? The whole point of the work here at Boulder Psychic Institute isn't necessarily to become psychic or to become a healer, although we use those as the tool to get to the place of being a well-adjusted human being that can hang out with anyone, no matter what kind of crazy you think they might be spouting. You can just hold space and be chill and be like, well, that's your experience. Cool. Right. And to be able to hang with anyone. And so good job. I love that story.
That I know. And that was a really, and then I think that was the same day that my phone got haunted and was calling and texting people. And then it was gone. And I was like, oh no. And I don't tell people that all the time, but I swear there was a tiny ghost that got in my phone and it left. But
I've had that before where I had my phone and then it just disappeared. And then like 5 hours later, it's in my car.
There's no fun like answering the phone at the BPI. I should do that again for a while.
I'm happy to give you the phone, the BPI phone.
But yeah, anytime ghosts have they're kind of a bummer. They're usually a bummer.
Yeah.
They're not scary. They're a bummer. You're like,
well, and the reason why ghosts
are good, like,
and a ghost versus kind of a regular entity is that a ghost has very little of its life force about them. So, you know, most entities who are kind of walking this world in that bardo or purgatory type state, maybe they have like 40, 50, 60% of the energy about them, and they're trying to collect up at least 80 so that they can cross over fully, and then take their next step, whether that's incarnating again or doing whatever they're going to do. But ghosts are more like 20, 30%. And they're kind of wispy. They don't have enough consciousness to really like even talk to them and be like, hey, you want to go do something? No, they just don't. They're many chicken nuggets short of a Happy Meal. And so they just don't have a lot going on for them. So they are actually kind of harder to work with because you can't really dialogue with them. Usually really all you can do with a ghost, a true ghost, is give them a healing. Let me connect you to the Supreme Being, or let me give you a healing and try to help you get a little bit more of your energy collected up so that you can take a step and either move out of that house or move out of that person's life or space. And maybe go try something different to collect up even more of your energy so that you can then fully cross over.
What makes someone sticky to ghosts? Because there are people that have 1,000 different ghost stories. And I'm like, you know, per usual, nothing cool ever happens to me. But
tomorrow you're going to be abducted by an alien. They'll do all
I know. Aliens are the scary ones. They're the ones that scare the absolute crap out of people because they're so other. Whatever an alien is, it's so other that it just like scares the shit out of humans.
Yeah. Well, and because we're only intellectually based, if we can't, extrapolate past like what an alien might be or what might be in the unknown, like an entity, we do kind of like to other, right? If it's so different, we don't understand what's going on with them. I mean, we even have subgroups of people that get othered and projected fear or projected on them that they're bad people, right? So again, we do have an illness of overusing the brain, but not even fully owning that brain capacity to the degree to which it actually becomes a usable tool, right? We only use like 10% of our brains.
Yeah, and this was an interesting thought I had too before, when I was thinking about this before our call, was how we relate to these different ghosts or possessions or aliens, whatever you call it, poltergeist, in our movies and books. And like most people like would be uncomfortable in this conversation, just owning, oh, I was in a psychic reading and I saw a ghost. They'd be like, oh, you're crazy. But why is it that every movie is about this, is about possessions of some kind, ghosts, entities? We're obsessed with it. Like all the scary movies are ghosts, entities, aliens, but yet we don't believe them in that. And how fascinating is that, how we talk about them, how we portray them in art, somebody's channeling that and being, like, this is, and aliens are always disgusting. And as soon as people are disgusted, that's like, if we're disgusted with other groups of people, then that's when violence ensues. But like, we're disgusted by aliens, we're scared. Ghosts are like weird and depressing and annoying, or
sometimes they're portrayed as scary.
Yeah.
They possess you and make your head spin and vomit all over the place.
Yeah.
Exorcist. That was the movie. Exorcist.
We gotta have a movie marathon. Something I want super bad before I die is a movie theater of my own. I want a movie theater. It's more like a warehouse with it turn into a movie theater.
Yeah. Love that.
It's so fun once I get that.
Absolutely. Let's do that. No, there's a lot I wanted to say about that. I kind of lost it.
Sorry, I'm an interrupter. But my bit about interrupters, I think we're right. I think I've said this before. It's like, when someone rear ends someone, it's the automatic, the rear ender is always blamed. The interrupter is always blamed, and I'm done with that. I think that people talk too slow. I already know what you're going to say. You've said it before. I'm just kidding. Go on, please. I'm going to listen now.
You know what? We have a bunch of questions that are coming.
Oh, we do. I didn't see any of them.
Well, they're on Instagram. They're not coming in through Facebook or YouTube today.
Let's hear a question.
Yeah. So I thought we might. So how much more common is it to see possession by a spirit versus demonic?
Yeah. When does something become, oh, I like this? When is something just a random entity, a blob of energy? And then when is it evil?
All right, everyone. Beings, they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere, whether you like it or not. If that freaks you out, come take classes. They can teach you how to be chill about all of that. It might take a little bit to deprogram some of your old conditioning, but they are everywhere. And here's what I have to say: whether it's a ghost who's haunting a place, or an entity that's in Bardo purgatory, or an entity that's going to fully possess you and have you do crazy things or amazing things, all right? Those entities, especially if they have you do things that are not amazing, they're not evil. They're not evil. Just like when I look at humans, pretty much every human I look at, they're not evil. Stuck, yes. Stuck on greed, stuck on wealth, stuck on power, stuck on control. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that in our politics right now across the board, both aisles. We have human entities who are very stuck. They're not evil, but they're just stuck on some things. So beings can get stuck on blood. They can get stuck on bones, like seeing cracked bones. They can get stuck on sadness. They can get stuck on depression. And so those beings are not evil. Very, 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 very seldom, like maybe 0.00001% of the time, you know, at least me as a grounded, pragmatic psychic who does not always play into drama. Sometimes I can get into dramatic states, but generally I like to keep things very chill. Other psychics might say otherwise, but maybe I'm judging them as being overly dramatic, right? But maybe 0.0001% of the time will there be an actual being who is evil, Satan, if you will, demonic, right? That happens very, very, very seldom. And so this is where, I like to be the psychic teacher who's trying to dispel the fear and cool everyone down and calm everyone down, because the way an entity attaches to you is through the matching stuck energy that you have.
Mm-hmm.
If I am fearful as I go into a haunted house, I might come home with a lot of beings that are stuck on fear that then attach to me, and then I'm in a world of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I have, if I'm greedy and power hungry, right? We see this in certain levels of politicians and the ultra wealthy, right? If I'm stuck on that, it's very easy for an entity or 2 or 20 to come in and attach to that person who are power hungry and greedy and more. And then the thing is that when you have more than just one being in that body feeding the stuckness, that stuckness grows and becomes big and bigger, like a disease or an epidemic, right? You have certain parts of the world where, like in the Middle East, there are lots of entities over there that are stuck on fear and control. And I mean, it's just been going on for millennia.
Mm-hmm.
Where these beings are attaching to all of the humans who are stuck in that too, fear, control, being controlled or controlling others.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like this pattern that can like never end, right?
Right.
And I do want to say, right, nobody's a victim. On a spiritual level, on a soul level, there are no victims. Physically, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Physically, there are victims. People get harmed. People get physically hurt. But on a soul level, okay, purely the above space, there are no victims. If I have a being attached to me, it's because somewhere in there, probably mentally, and if I'm only using this hand, unconsciously, I made that agreement with that being. Just like how you were talking about visiting graveyards and kind of calling the dead back, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an agreement, right? That being will only come back if it wants to, but that other person's so attached that they are calling them back, right? I was just kind of checking in on my mom who passed about a year and a half or more ago. I was just checking in on her the other day. I was like, man, she's out. She moved. She's gone. She's like, catch y'all later, right? And but that's kind of the agreement, as she was passing. We talked a little bit about her passing and me supporting her and helping her just really slide right on out of here. And she had regrets and things that were unresolved, but in our spirit to spirit communications, she decided to kind of let go of those, because I talked to her about, well, you can always hit the redo button in another lifetime. No lifetime's ever going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's always by agreement. Okay. So if you feel possessed, or if you have a being and I can't get rid of it, remember you're the other side of the hand shaking on that.
You have to figure out what made this connection.
Yeah. Just like getting pregnant, right? That's an agreement between the spirit and the parents, where both parties are going, sure, yeah, let's have you. Even if the parents don't know it, because they're so intellectually based and they haven't developed this other side of themselves.
Yeah. As a general rule, I don't like the terms good and evil. I just think it's an unproductive place to go.
Yes.
because, oh, I want to be good. And then we start labeling things. That's either good. Oh, those people are evil. That's evil. So I better get them.
Yeah.
No, I don't like good and evil. I don't like those concepts. I think they're dangerous.
I think they're dangerous in the body and on a spiritual level. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, the problem with a lot of religion and even neo-spirituality, which is basically religion that's been rebranded and using cooler, like, words like chakra and stuff like that. But the problem with all of that is that nobody's teaching that there are certain constructs here on the physical plane that only exist here. Time, space, gravity, those don't exist on the other side. Your brain, you don't take that with you after a lifetime. You don't take your intellect with you, right? Emotional vibrations, those don't come with you over to the other side. Same with hierarchy. Hierarchy is one that I really like to go after, especially with my older students. Hierarchy is a necessary thing here on earth. You got a parent, you have a child, you got the boss, an employee. There's always going to be somebody above you and somebody below you in the hierarchical scheme of how do we create order here on earth as human bodies.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as hierarchy over there on the other side. Maybe there's some entities who have figured out a few more things than other ones, but in my dealings with entities who are pretty darn amazing and entities who are not that amazing, right? There isn't like this, oh, I'm better than you vibration. It's more like, oh, hey, I see you. Oh, yeah, you're kind of stuck here. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck here. Yep, we're all just
right. Which is why you need to be careful about taking advice all the time from your spirit guides, it's just like with anyone in your life, you're like, yeah, I like that, or I like part of that, or oh, no. Let's hear another question. Do we have another one?
There are more comments about Egypt being cool and the Mayan pyramids. I quite enjoyed Machu Picchu. That's also a fun vibration to go check out.
Oh, that was a wild one. When I was in Belize, we went down into a cave, into a river where they would make human sacrifices.
Right? Yeah, sometimes, like the tombs and stuff, those are fun to go.
And did I tell you this story? So I had imbibed on a little bit of substance beforehand for fun. And then I went down into a fucking cave where people are sacrificing humans. And I got down there and I got into the dark and into, in the rocks and in the earth. And I heard this voice crystal clear. Oh, your drugs don't work down here. All of a sudden I was like, I was like sober like that. And then it was like, your drugs don't work down here. And I was like,
boom. That's funny. When we did healings in Boulder in person, we're Boulder. So sometimes we get people like coming up to get a healing and they're just stoned out of their minds. And I'd be like, just to mess with them, I'm like, let me give you a healing. They're like, ooh, the director's giving me a healing. And I'll just like clean that drug energy right out. And they're like, fuck, you ruined my
over.
Is that what a healing is? I don't get to be high anymore. I'm like, maybe just because I'm messing with you. Yeah, pineal gland can get that drug energy out. We should wrap up soon.
Yeah, I was seeing
if you are feeling possessed, worried about being possessed, worried about somebody else who's possessed, or hauntings or entities or any of that, my biggest recommendation is to come in and either take classes, of course, learn how to do this for yourself. It's cheaper, but also then you gain a lot of great life and spiritual skills. But the other one would be to look up our transmedium healings. They're called laser focused transmedium healings on our website under readings and healings. You go down to the healing section. Those are my postgraduate students who are really, really skilled and have some good education, and they're practicing working on clearing entities and moving them from your home or from your body or wherever they're attached.
I'm a big believer in energy work on your home.
Yeah. Oh, it totally works. Yeah.
This was a good one.
Yeah. The veil is thinner.
Is that true?
It really is thinner in October, and it's because of the mental constructs of everybody believing it's thinner. right? The leaves are dying. We're all thinking about death, the D word. And, it just kind of conjures up those thoughts, which is energy, which then adds to the energy of like, oh, there's a group collective of the veil spinner. So we're able to access.
Yeah, we're going into winter. We're going into the dark. We're going into the rest. We're going into the still.
Yeah. So it says above, so below. So nature kind of created, this is the season of dying, right? But at the same time, it permeates us, and then we add to it.
Mm-hmm.
Below, so above, we're adding to it. Mm-hmm.
Plus candy.
Woo! Yes. My neighborhood's the best. We have
my neighborhood's so fun. I know.
We have bands, adult treats.
Yeah. Yay. Cool. Well,
thank you, 3.
I think next month we're going to talk about family holidays, right? I think so.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's November.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for our newsletter, because I am channeling Maitreya, who is the second coming, and we'll see what that being has to say about the state of the world.
Here we are on planet Earth.
Yeah. It keeps turning.
Yay. All right. That was good.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for showing up.